So Kenny Omega is about to challenge MJF at AEW Dynasty, and it feels for me like a very important match in the promotion's history. This is only the first time that Kenny Omega is ever going to challenge for the world title on pay-per-view. He's been used as this massive television draw over the history of the promotion, and the last 2 times he got a crack at the belt was on TV, one of them being, ironically, against MJF. And MJF is coming into this match with a lot of positive momentum as far as the reception goes towards this title reign. And it feels like this match is kind of coming on a short build. Just immediately after Revolution, they had to jump into this. And I don't know about y'all, man. Kenny Omega versus MJF being that kind of what I would say rushed, that for me does not signal a title change. And it feels like MJF has, got enough challengers lurking around. It doesn't feel like Kenny's the guy right now. And for me, the biggest clue of all this is the length, of the build. And even if it's just, they were doing this, I think if it was Revolution, where it was like a more prolonged thing, I think I could talk myself into a title switch. But I think as generously as I can say, it hasn't been bad, but they kept this feud very vanilla, almost as if this isn't the last time these guys are going to see each other this year. And there is a lot of time until Wembley. Wembley is 4 months from now. I think we're going to be set up on a chaotic, wild ride this entire summer of going this way, that way, this way, that way, before we ultimately land at our destination, which, I think a lot of people kind of have a match that they are looking for. But, I feel like the contenders and the booking around the world title has been very old school. It's been very keeping a lot of challengers in the mix, keeping people lurking and strong. And, something like a Speedball Mike Bailey versus Rocky Romero match led to Speedball getting this, title match with MJF, which also ties Speedball into Kenny Omega, possibly on the other side. So, everything is kind of it has like a tree root to it, to where you can pull on any branch you want. The Darby Allin thing is really like a flashing alarm to me. Like, the second they were getting to Kenny Omega as a challenger, Darby Allin was getting these long video packages kind of reminding you everything that he's done in AEW. And I think a Darby Allin MJF match is coming quicker than everyone thinks. And I think Darby cannot be kind of discounted here as somebody that they may actually pull the trigger on, and people are not going to see it coming at all. And I think the Kenny Omega MJF match does not necessarily feel to me as if this one is where they empty the storytelling gun. They don't, I think, go deep into trying to wound each other with the promos and everything. I think they've kept it very above board, very, okay, we got a big match coming, 2 big names, and we're going to do it. So I don't think this is really a reflection of Kenny Omega being chosen against. I think this is about MJF, having a lot of success at the moment. And I think MJF is going to, go through, on pay-per-view, he's going to go through Hangman, he's going to go through Kenny. He's had, the Brody King match, Bandito, Kevin Knight, Speedball, Mike Bailey. And if you cut that off right there, if Omega's his last major win, that's a very, very strong title reign. You look at the box office, you look at just kind of how they kind of structured this. Whoever put this together, I think you got to give them kudos on that. I think he's going to sneak out the back door with a victory against Kenny. I don't think he's going to beat him clean or anything, and I think they're going to leave enough on the line for, whenever they revisit this, because I feel like it's not done. And, I think there's more to come just based on how the story is being told right now. And if Kenny, were to win right now, then it's almost like Kenny has to run through a set of challengers. And it's again, Wembley is 4 months away. So I think you can do some exciting things with the championship over the summer, actually. So, I'm not counting out Darby Allin. I'm not counting out MJF even winning it back at some point. And they've kept the AEW pay-per-view calendar very, very secret. So you can look at Double or Nothing, what's happening in June, what's happening in July. You've got your, Forbidden Door assumably in June. July kind of screams out at me. And last year they moved the calendar around, but July is going to have an opportunity to do something major, whether it's on TV or even pay-per-view. And I think that the lack of a commitment to this being this, for me, the God and Devil tagline just feels cute rather than it feels like, hey, we are at a fork in the road moment for the promotion. I think this is going to be MJF, getting the victory at Dynasty. But I think if you're a Kenny Omega fan, I would not be discouraged. I was in the building the night he cut a promo at Sacramento where he promised to win the AEW championship. And for a babyface to make a promise like that, and they aired it on one of those post-show pay-per-views things, I don't think they're in the business of having babyfaces make promises that they are not going to keep. So that's just my prediction. What do you guys think about what's going to happen here? Do you feel like Kenny Omega is going to find his way back to glory? Do you think this is what is the star rating going to be on this? I'm fascinated by that because the last time they got together, they had probably, for my money, the best singles match in the history of Collision, and MJF was tore up, by his own admission there. Kenny Omega was obviously days away from essentially being out for a calendar year with the diverticulitis. And now they seem to be operating on higher levels. MJF, much healthier at this time. Kenny's coming off some really great performances against Swerve. And I think we're going to get a version of this match that, exceeds the last one. And I'm very interested in how they do the finish. Do they make it feel cheap? Do they do something unique? I don't think this is going to be clean or anything, but for me, that's not an excuse to come short on the star ratings, which is something that, that's a Kenny Omega thing right there. He's got that 31-31 tie with Okada, main event of a pay-per-view. You can never really shut that down. So very interested to see how Dynasty plays out. Let me know, who do you think is going to win in the comments, MJF or Kenny Omega?
Paul P-Dub in the house. Go and hit that like button on your way out. Leave a few words and I'll holler back soon. Till we meet again, reach the stars and the moon.